Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we're going to talk about the equipment system in King Arthur Legends Rise, and there is quite a bit to talk about. So I'm going to do my best to make this as digestible as possible for even the newest of new players. And as the video progresses, it's going to get a little bit more complicated. We're going to talk about how the system evolves as you progress through the game. And I'm going to, again, really try to break this down so that everybody can understand what they're looking at and how to go about gearing their champions with a better understanding of how it all works and what you're looking for. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. I think the most important thing for us to do before I really start getting into it is kind of break down the anatomy of a piece of gear, because I'm going to be saying main stat and substat and prefix stat and all these different things. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that might sound like gibberish before I start getting more specific about it all. So let's talk about the anatomy of a piece of gear. If we click any given piece of gear, the top stat on every single piece of gear is called the main stat. It's the first stat, it's the main stat, okay? And we'll talk about more about all that in a second, as far as like the variety you can have in a main stat. But that's what that is. This is a good piece to look at because it's got a blue stat under the main stat, which is called a prefix stat. And it, much like the main stat, when the piece of gear is created, it has a chance to roll a prefix stat. If it doesn't have it when it rolls, it's not going to have one. So if we come over here and click a few pieces of gear, of course, all these have prefix stat. This is an example of a piece of gear that does not have a prefix stat. It just has substats, which brings me to the next thing we're talking about, substats. Now, it's a little bit weird because it's just down there with the substats. But one thing we can do, one way you can know if it's a prefix stat, it doesn't have the picture like regular substats do. So for example, here we've got effect accuracy. We can find effect accuracy on another piece. Surely we can. Right here. See here, effect accuracy has a symbol. That means it's a regular substat. Whereas up here, it means it's the prefix stat. That's another way is that it'll be blue and it'll be right under the main stat. But another way is that it doesn't have a symbol. And I think that's a quicker, like a good visual, like way to just go, oh, okay, so these are the substats. This is the prefix stat. And the substats are also going to be randomly assigned on any given piece of gear. And depending on the rarity, which is the color of the background, so we've got our white background gear, which will be common. You've got your green background gear, which will be uncommon, blue background, which will be rare, gold background, which will be legendary. This basically dictates the substats that are going to be on the piece. So every piece of gold gear you get, regardless of stars, is going to have 3 substats on it at the beginning of its, right, when it's created. Every single one of these we click will either have 3 substats or it will have 1 prefix stat and 3 substats. So either way, it'll have 3 substats, but in some cases there may be 4 stats under the main stat. I'm saying stat a lot, so I hope that's not like clouding up what I'm saying. These are all the substats. This is the prefix stat, and that's the way it works. Every piece of blue gear will have 2 substats inherently before it's leveled up. So if this one has a prefix and 2 substats, same with that one, same with that one. This one just has the 2 substats, right? The rarity dictates the number of substats. The reason that matters is because as you enhance your gear, every 3rd level, you're going to get a roll into your substats. So with this helmet, let's go ahead and do it. I'm not going to turn on max. We're going to do it 3 levels at a time. Actually, we'll do it 1 level at a time. The first level is just going to increase the main stat. The second level is just going to increase the main stat. The 3rd level is going to increase the main stat and roll a substat. Now, if there are already substats present, it's going to pick one of them and roll it. If we're up to the point where there are no more substats to roll, it'll roll a new one. And what I mean by that is, since there are 2 substats here, enhancing it to 3, it's going to pick one and roll it. Enhancing it to 6, it's going to pick one and roll it. But then that's the max that can roll into the already present ones. When we roll it to 9, if you could roll it to 9, you would get a new substat, right? So at 3, one of these is going to roll. So we got defense. So if we do it again, main stat. If we do it again, main stat. If we do it again, one of these substats, right? Now this one's at max because it's 2-star. But if it was 3-star and we could take it to 9, we'd fill in this slot right here with a new substat. And then if it was 4-star and we could take it to 12, when it got to 12, we'd fill in this line with a new substat, right? So every piece of gear that you roll to 12 will have 4 substats. One way or another, it will end up with 4 substats. If you're doing it with legendary gear, do I have any legendary gear that's not rolled? I have this one, but it's only 2-star. Really wish I had a 3-star one. Unfortunate that I do not. But same principle, right? We're going to take it to 3. It'll roll one of these. Well, I took it to 6. So we got 2 defense percentage rolls. If I took it to 9, we'd get another roll in one of these. If I took it to 12, no matter what, we'd get a new substat right here. We'd get our 4th substat. Every piece of gear at plus 12 will have 4 substats, all right? So the reason legendary gear would be preferable is because you have the opportunity to stack multiple rolls into a good substat. So like for here, I have an attack set helmet that has 2 rolls into a crit rate stat and 1 roll into a crit damage stat. This is a pretty solid 4-star helmet, right? I have substats that complement what I would be going for if I was to use it. And I got rolls into those substats. So I'm getting extra crit rate and crit damage versus using something else that did not have these or did not get rolls into these, okay? And then again, the star rating of a piece of gear just dictates how high you can roll it. So a 1-star piece of gear can only be rolled to 3. So if we've got max ticked here, it's only going to roll to 3 and then it's maxed out. Even though it's rare and it's got 2 substats, I can't roll it any higher than 3 because it's only 1-star. If it's 2-star, I can take it to 6. If it's 3-star, I can take it to 9. If it's 4-star, I could take it to 12. I haven't done it yet because it's very expensive, but it can be done. And then that's when you get your 4th substat on your piece of gear. So rarity, which is the color of the background, determines how many substats are on it initially. The star rating determines how high you can roll it, okay? Hopefully that all makes sense. That's one of those things that I feel like is very hard to break down in an easy to understand way. Let me know if you did not understand that before and you do understand it now. I would be very interested to hear if that explanation is good. Now that we understand, hopefully, the anatomy of a piece of gear, now we can start to talk specifically about main stats and substats and all of that stuff. So again, we're going to break up our gear into left and right. I'm not going to talk too much about this bottom row because that'll happen much later in the game. And by the time you get it, you'll probably have a better understanding of how gear works. And a lot of what I'm going to say will still apply to your keepsake slots. It's just going to be a while before you get there. So I'd rather you understand this stuff now. And I don't want to bombard you with too much information. Again, a lot of what I'm going to say is going to apply here as well. But anyway, left side, right side. That's how I want you to look at this. I want you to split them up that way because there are some pretty key differences in the way that the left side and the right side work. So left side, the reason that this matters is because on the left side, your main stat will never change on any given piece of gear. So for example, on your helmet, every single helmet in this game you click will be flat attack as a main stat. Every single time, the top stat is going to be flat attack. On the body armor, it's always going to be flat defense. Every single piece of armor you click. And on any set of boots, it's going to be flat HP. So that will never change. That will always be the way that works on the left side. So don't drive yourself crazy looking for speed boots or something because it's not going to happen. If you want that stuff on the left side, you're going to have to find it in your substats, okay? On the right side is where things start to evolve a little bit and change. From 1 to 3-star gear, and this is one of the interesting things that this game does. From 1 to 3-star gear, you can get, let me double check this real quick. Yeah, I think from 1 to 3-star, it's just flat HP, flat attack, and flat defense. But once you get to 4-star and above, it opens up a little bit and more things start to become possible. So let's talk about the things that start to become possible after 3-star gear. Again, 1 to 3-star, I think it's just going to be flat attack, flat defense, and flat HP. 4-star and above, those 3 also are still possible, but in addition, attack percentage, defense percentage, and HP percentage also become possible on all three of these. So that is what these three share in common. Those 6 stats, all three of these pieces of gear share in common as possibilities. In addition, each of these slots of gear have their own unique stats that can only be found in that slot as a main stat. Those are, for the necklace, effect accuracy and effect resistance. On the earrings, it's crit rate, crit damage, and hit accuracy. And on the ring, it is recovery and attack speed. Okay? So again, in addition to the other 6 stats that they all share in common, they each, ring and necklace, have 2 stats that are unique to them, and earrings have 3 stats that are unique to them. Okay? So as you evolve a little bit, get further into the game, start getting access to 4-star gear more regularly, and start to define your builds a little bit more specifically, that's when you're going to start looking for things like attack speed as a main stat on your ring, and crit damage or crit rate as a main stat on your earrings, and effect accuracy, or maybe just attack percentage. Depends on who you're building. You will rarely want the flat stat. You will rarely want flat HP, flat defense, or flat attack. There will come a time where that will be unacceptable. It'll be a minute, but you will eventually hit that. And remember, that's all only on 4-star and above gear. As far as substats are concerned, there's... I think my notes here tried to simplify this in a way that I hope is correct. Substats, if we look at all of the stats real quick, let's do it like this. Right, these are all of our stats. Well, not exactly. These aren't exactly all of our stats. I was hoping to be able to look more directly at the list of possible stats. But basically, everything's possible as a substat on the left side except evasion and recovery. So all of the usual suspects and hit accuracy are possible over here. Everything except evasion and recovery. On the right side, evasion and recovery are possible, but hit accuracy is not. That doesn't really matter for a while, but at a certain point later in the game, when you're looking for, maybe you're looking for a lot of hit accuracy in your subs and you're trying to find it, you won't find it on the right side, so don't drive yourself crazy. So again, everything is possible on the left side except evasion and recovery. And everything's possible on the right side except hit accuracy. Okay? That's the simplest way for me to convey that information. And again, I'm not talking about the keepsake slots right now. So, I think that's it. I think that pretty much covers it as far as like an introduction to guides. I'm sorry, an introduction to gear. Now, we can talk about sets and stuff briefly. If you just come over into the Forge, this is the best way, I think, to get a look at the sets. I don't think this is every set in the game, but it gives you an idea of how they work. So like if you click the eye on attack set, it tells you it's a 4 set and it tells you what it does. That means you need to equip 4 pieces of it to get this bonus. Whereas critical set is a 2 set, which means you only need 2 pieces of them equipped to get this bonus. And the 2 sets will stack. So if you put 4 pieces of critical gear on, you'll have 34% bump to your crit rate, okay? In addition to whatever the gear is doing specifically for you. I think there's other gear. Let me just double check that real quick. I think there's other gear. Yeah, I don't think you can craft this stuff. Corrosion, Immortal, and Strife. I don't think you can craft those. Maybe once you unlock the dungeon, you unlock the ability to craft them over here. But that's pretty much it. If you want a reference, you can come into the Forge, and right under me right here, there's this button that says Stat Info. If you click that button, it'll bring you here. And you can see main stats, right? Helmet, attack, body armor, defense, boots, HP, and then earrings 1 to 3 star. Like we said, it's just the flat stats. Oh, the ring can also have attack speed. That's right. 1 to 3 star. But then as we come down and we go to 4 and 6 star, this is where everything starts to open up like we talked about, right? That's kind of where it evolves. So this will matter to you when you get a little bit deeper in the dungeons and you start crafting more gear and you start getting access to more 4 to 6 star gear. This is really where it's going to matter. You know what I mean? And then chance to apply prefix stat, all that stuff, prefix stats. If you want to come in and look at the specific numbers of the percentage chance of everything, it's all here. One thing I do like is that all substats have the same chance to roll. And I really don't think that's the case in some games. Some games it seems very clearly skewed against the desirable stats. Here it seems to be the same across the board. So yeah, that's where you can go to, like, if you need a reference, or maybe you want to get a better, an explanation you can kind of control the pace of a little bit better than this. I hope that I've made it easier to understand. Maybe we'll do another video at some point and talk more about how to approach actually gearing your champs. But I think even before you get to there, you need to really understand the anatomy of a piece and like how it all works, how substat rolls work, what's possible on which pieces of gear, all of those things. So, man, I hope this helped. It's hard to know. It's hard to know. This is one of those things that, like, I've been playing these games for a decade, so I've understood this kind of stuff for a long time, and I don't know. I don't know if I'm effectively explaining it to people who are new to it. So some feedback on this one would be really appreciated. And if we need to, maybe we'll do a follow-up video or remake this video in a way that is hopefully easier to understand if this wasn't. But yeah, let me know. Let me know if this helps you at all. If you have any questions, drop them below. I'll do my best to answer them. And again, that would help me to know what I didn't cover effectively in the video, and maybe we can make a better version of this in the future. But that's it. If you have anything you'd like to add, I would also be interested to hear it. I know there's a lot of people a lot further in this game than I am right now, so I'd be interested to hear your experience with some of the higher star gear, and maybe there's some nuance to it that I'm not familiar with yet. But that's it. I'm going to get out of here. I do hope it helped. Appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you in the next one.